coming to you live for the Middle Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti, it's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you're on the free Odyssey app. Good Monday morning. What an unbelievable football game out in Denver. Looked like the Giants were cruising to victory, and we know now that they had an epic collapse and a historic cough-up of a lead, one that has never been seen with that many points up with that little time to go. And yes, that is awful, and it stinks, and a Giant fan should be upset this morning and looking to be screaming last night, and all my friends with different reasons why they lost the game as the phone is going nuts. But we sat here for years and years and years looking for this team to be relevant once again. Little bit of a taste in Brian Daboll's rookie season. Other than that, we haven't seen a thing. They've been irrelevant. They've been one of the worst teams in football. I'm not excusing this, but I'm doing it. I'm going silver lining spot. I'm going silver lining spot. I'm going full 100%. You're shaking your head. Silver lining spot. You got real energy. You got a real quarterback. You should have won the game. The doldrums for the New York Giants, I am declaring over. Now, they're not going to make the playoffs this year, but they are on the elevator going up. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, but is this the coaching staff to get them there? That's what I want to know. And that's probably what Giant fans want to know is how to manage a game. I mean, first of all, let me just start with the simplest concept that I have lived by for as long as I've played football, for as long as I
one
have
snap, one play,
football.
1 quarter of a time?
That's one of them, yes, but you don't go for 2 until you have to. Remember that.
Yeah.
Just remember that. Just kick the extra point, go up 20-0, and keep it rolling, okay? Don't try to go for 2 because some stupid analytical piece of paper in your hand says you got to go for 2.
Just quickly, though, an extra point wasn't so easy yesterday.
No, well, there was an extra point that was kicked yesterday. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I know they did. But the point being is that don't go for 2 until you have to. That's just a simple rule that I've always, as a broadcaster, I always thought that way. As a former player, I've always thought that way. And as a fan, I always think that way. I mean, that's just a simple thing. And I'm not assuming now because they did miss 2 extra points that extra point would have been made. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, the other thing, too, is you got a 10-point lead. They got 3 timeouts left. It's not like you're up by 7 or you're up by 3. You're up by 2 scores. You want them to use up all of their timeouts. And this is where on 3rd down you have Jaxson Dart throwing and he throws the interception. Now, the beauty about all of this, and you just did allude to it, is that the quarterback overcame all of that and then came back and led another touchdown drive. But the point being is that you want to manage the game, when you're up by 10 a certain way this late in the game. And it was mismanaged. I don't know if Mike Kafka called a pass play. And, by the way, it's literally inches away from being, another completion. And we would be sitting here this morning lauding the fact that they decided to throw on that play, and that play was a huge – if it turned out to be a huge play. That was a first
guess for me, though. I got to be honest with you. That's a first guess for me because that was the one thing you could not have in that situation was a turnover. That's the one thing you couldn't have. So when he dropped back,
especially where they were,
yeah, exactly, and how many points they were up by at a 2-score game. So when he dropped back, I said, "Oh no!" And I didn't like the call. Now I don't know if I would have lauded the call. I would have lauded Jaxson Dart for having the balls to have a completion in that situation, but it was the worst throw of the game for him. So that was the first guess. Hand the ball off. And by the way, you could still get a first down by handing the ball off on 3rd and 5 as well.
That's true. And even if the ball were incomplete and the clock would have stopped, then you're giving them like their timeout back. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So, that's another thing that I would look at. There are a few other things that I could say about the defense that completely collapsed at the end of this game. Now, I know they had some injuries. And those injuries actually played a significant part of Denver's ability to move the ball on offense and come back. But think about this now. Yeah. It's at the end of the 3rd quarter. The Giants go up 19-0. They go for 2. They don't make it. They kick off to the Denver Broncos late in the 3rd quarter. And this is where that first touchdown drive starts. On the kickoff, there's a holding on Denver. and it knocks them back to like their 22 or 21 yard line. Mm-hmm. And this is where they go on that 78, 79 yard touchdown drive, whatever it was. I mean, it was, and then they go for 2 and they make it. So now we're into now it's got to be time. It's got to be timeouts. We got to be thinking about scores. We got to think about what we're going to be doing when we are doing it. If they don't go for 2 and let's say they make the extra point, okay? Now they come back, they score again. They don't have to go for 2. They could, or if they kick the extra point and make it and not miss it, they're probably winning the game. Although I wouldn't put it past this Giant defense with the way that it collapsed in the fourth quarter that they would have given up a touchdown as opposed to a field goal to win the game.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just it was a matter of time that they were scoring points in that instance, and the injuries, and then also the fact that they were on the field constantly in the fourth quarter. They looked like they were spent. I mean, they really did. And you had guys that were dropping like flies. I mean, even guys who stayed in the game like Brian Burns were not themselves. He had rolled over his ankle. He couldn't get back to when the Broncos were trying to spike the ball and Bo Nix got the team up to the line quick. He couldn't get back in time because he wasn't running as fast. So, yeah, there were a couple real instances there of the defense just not being able to do anything. And by the way, too, Shane Bowen, again, calling this let's
three-man rush defense.
Right. I mean, and Brian Burns, so it's not just us sitting here second-guessing. Brian Burns was caught screaming about it as he was heading into the locker room about why are we doing this? And then on top of it, Brian Daboll was screaming at somebody on the sidelines. It had to be some defensive coach after the field goal goes in and the Broncos win. But it feels like the same situation at the end of the Dallas game, where it's like, let's just throw these guys out there and just hope that somehow the worst thing doesn't happen, as opposed to continuing to attack.
I still think that offensively you have to manage the game a hell of a lot differently than you did in the fourth quarter. You know what I'll say? Like, when you get to the fourth quarter, so you had a number of possessions. So the first touchdown for Denver is an extension of their third quarter possession that goes into the fourth quarter. So that's where they score their first points and they get their first 8 points. After that, the Giants come right back, touchdown, boom, and they go up 26-8. Then Denver comes back, boom, touchdown. Now it's 26-16. Now this is the point where you're up 10, and the Giants go out there. They run 3 plays and 26 seconds off the clock because Denver's using their timeouts. And the best thing that possibly can happen for the Denver Broncos happens, and this is the ill-advised interception. And this is the thing that kind of swings the entire game, like from one sideline to the other sideline. And if you remember, the Denver Broncos go down and score a touchdown in 4 plays. The next Giant offensive series was horrendous. 3 plays, 2 yards, 1 minute and 9 seconds off the clock. And then Denver comes back, scores another touchdown to make it, their lead 30-26. Now, to his credit, and this is the beauty, this is your silver lining spot about Jaxson Dart. Now, I don't know about concepts and things that they're running there because I don't really see many. I see a lot of let's just hoist it down the field. Now, and remember, who is he playing with? He's not out there with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Malik
Neighbors.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's out there with these guys, and it looks like they're having a hell of a time. They're having a lot of fun. He's having a lot of fun. He's playing with that energy that you were talking about. And they end up scoring a touchdown. And I'll never forget, I played in a game just like this. I was with Cincinnati my last year. We're at Philadelphia. And our defense basically couldn't stop Bobby Hoyne and the Philadelphia Eagles. We get down on the 2-yard line. And if we score, we're going to leave 40 seconds on the clock. If we don't score and we kind of wait and take a knee or whatever, maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that we could run out the clock and still score, but we don't know that we could do that. If Jaxson Dart doesn't score on that running play, that he ends up reaching the ball out, and it was a great, tough play by that kid. If they don't score there, that clock may continue to run all the way down. And then they have one play to end up scoring to take the lead and walk off the field winners. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there was still, 37 seconds to go. So I do believe it was obvious. they certainly would have been able to get up and run another play.
With 10 seconds to go, they win.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's just crazy how it played out. And a couple things about Jaxson Dart that why I go silver lining spot. One, running in for the touchdown there, knowing that he got in, then screaming on the sideline, looking at the defense and everybody on the sideline going, let's win the effing game. And then also, when Brian Burns got hurt, there was one player that came out and made sure he was okay when he was coming off the field, and that was Jaxson Dart. I don't see a lot of that in the NFL. Like, this guy
this kid
is a leader immediately.
Yes.
And the way that he was devastated after the game is how I want to see my players act when they lose a game like that. I don't want to see them going to find their old teammates and laughing, oh, this was a good one. Oh, let's swap the jerseys. Oh, I'll get them next time. Blah, blah, blah. This guy looked like his dog died after the game. And that, to me, is another sign that you got the right guy. So this today is sucks, and we went over everything, and the fans are going to be screaming about Brian Daboll, and rightfully so. But I don't know how many years we have sat here and said, all it takes is hitting on one of them. You hit on one of these guys, and it changes your franchise. And I believe that that's what we're witnessing. That's what we're witnessing right now.
Now the question comes down to, I think he and Brian Daboll have a great relationship. I think Brian Daboll picked him. He wanted him here. He's got his quarterback. The real question now is, is this the coaching staff? The way that they've mismanaged some of these games, whether it be at the end of the Dallas Cowboy game or whether it be this game here. At what? So there's a point where they're up 19-0, and I'm like, man, this is glorious.
Yeah,
this is absolutely glorious. This is. And I have nothing against Denver. All I know is that we sit here for years and years and years, and we've been talking about the Giants, waiting for them to wake up. And they finally have a team and a player that has ignited the fan base. But now, and then the other thing I think about this is that, Denver was coming off of that long trip.
Yeah.
For 3 quarters, it looked like they were sleepwalking. It really did. And it took a number of things that had to have happened in order for this comeback to be complete and for Denver to score 33 points. 33 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah. I have never seen anything like it.
Well, you know what's interesting is we always talk about, like, all right, so you got a young quarterback who's, learning how to win and learning all these situations, but the coaching staff has been here for a long time. So you don't get the same type of grace or the same type of leeway with the coaching staff because they've been here for a while. Whereas if it were the second year of Brian Daboll, or certainly the first year, it's like, okay, they figure each other out. They got to figure out, how to win these games. Brian Daboll should know better. Shane Bowen should know better in these situations, and that's what's scary.
They're paid for their experience and success from other places, and unfortunately, I think twice now they've lost games because of of course, an interception is a breakdown. When they went down to New Orleans and they had all those interceptions, I put those on the players. Those are on the players. But this particular interception here late in the game, to me, is on the coaching staff. That you have to coach your way around the lead and the timeouts and the timing and understanding exactly what's happening. And it's easy for us to sit here this morning and talk about that, as opposed to be standing on the sideline. I wish I could have been standing on the sideline and saying, number one, I know we're a little shaky in the kicking department. I understand that.
Which is another thing that sort of defined the Brian Daboll era, by the way.
Right, that's true. Let's not. They have what's his coup on the sideline, don't they?
I don't know if he was on the sideline.
But he's on the team.
Is he?
I believe
I don't think so. I think they signed McAtamey and then ended up not signing Koo.
I think he's on the practice squad. I think.
Well, if you're on the practice squad,
they chose who they chose, as opposed to having a guy with some experience. I guess I don't know too much about what's it, McAtamey, whatever the hell it is.
McAtamey, yeah.
It is so frustrating. I felt like the Giants, man, this is it. This is going to be where they're turning the corner. This is how, they're going to go out there and they're going to win this game, and it's going to set up a huge game this week in Philadelphia. Now the interesting thing is going to be, how is this team going to react to this loss going on the road to Philadelphia, whose ass they kicked, 10 days ago? And now it's Is it turnabout is fair play, or is it going to be we're going to bow up here and we're somehow going to win this game? They needed to win one of these two games, and this is the game probably they had the best chance to win simply just because of Denver and all the travel that they went through.
Yes, and I'm not. I mean, if they somehow figure out a way, and I would have felt great about what we were talking about last week about the plus 1,800 and the Giants making the playoffs if they had won this game. Clearly, they didn't. But making the playoffs or not making the playoffs right now for the Giants should be irrelevant because it's really about the change and momentum into going into next year. It is so hard to shed the loser off of you when you've had so many bad seasons in a row where they've been dead. And they're doing that. Now, if they go on a run and make the playoffs, that's gravy. But the fact of the matter is that they've already beaten the Chargers. They've beaten the Eagles. They should have won and were beating the brakes off of the Denver Broncos in Denver. I mean, they haven't won a road game in 2 years, and they actually put up the stat as if they had won this game yesterday on the broadcast when they were up 19 late in the game. So, I mean, there's things that they are doing. They beat the Eagles for the first time in forever. They always get killed by them. There's things that they're doing that the Giants haven't done in forever.
The problem is now they got Philadelphia. San Francisco did win last night against Atlanta. That's after Philadelphia at home, and then Chicago, which is a completely different team. Green Bay is wins. They come back and they beat Arizona yesterday, then Detroit, and then New England. I mean, you got a who's who and people, and all these teams.
It's all changed though now. I mean, it's all.
But I think all those teams
at all these games.
I think all these teams are better than what I thought they were. Maybe with the exception of San Francisco and their defense.
Oh, okay, but the Giants are better than I thought they would be, and the fact that they're even in some of these games to me is amazing. And as we said, there's really only one way that this season could feel special, and that's if Jaxson Dart was a hit as opposed to a miss, and he's been a hit. So, now the way that this team is playing, I don't look at 5-6 straight losses any longer. You can't. Everything's changed. I mean, as bad of a cough-up job and a choke job as that was yesterday, everything has changed. And you're still as fired up. You'd be even more fired up. I get it. But it's not like you've lost all momentum after losing this game. I mean, still going. I mean, it's every week is like, what can they do? Can they accomplish this? How much better can he get? How does he respond? There's finally something there you can hang on to.
You know what I like also about this game, going into this game, there's a lot of chirping on both sides.
The Bronco game, yeah.
Yes, there was a lot of chirping going into this game. And for a young quarterback that, it seems to me like Denver was trying to intimidate him.
Yeah.
Prior to the game. And then early on, he was a little shaky. Balls were being thrown in the dirt. He was getting rid of the ball. But once he finally settled down and got hit, he started making those plays that, only he can make on this team. There's no other quarterback on the team that could do what he's doing. And I would say a little bit of it is a helter-skelter. But, that's just a young kid trying to find his way.
Blitzing the hell out of him, and he was standing in there, too.
Yeah, I know. That's the point. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that deflected touchdown, I figured, oh, man, when this happened.
Yeah, and then they had one of their own.
Right.
Right after that.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way they're losing this game, especially when they come back and they score right after Denver scores their initial touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like at that moment, I think that's when they put up the graphic, was after that touchdown of how many games in a row they had lost on the road and how this one felt like it was going to go the other way.
That game that I was telling you about in Philadelphia, so we ended up scoring just like the Giants did, and we ended up losing just like the Giants did. Same thing. Yeah. It's a real, I'll never forget, Bruce Coslett was the head coach of the Bengals at this time, and he said to me on the sideline, we had a 1st and goal, I think, from the 2-yard line. He goes, do you think we take 2 knees to get the clock all the way down and then try to score? I said, if we take 2 knees and we don't score, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get fired, and people are going to think we're out of our minds. I mean, we have to score. And Philadelphia at that time should have let us score, but they didn't. I mean, they were trying to keep us from scoring. And but anyway, we ended up losing the game just like the Giants did. And I know how heart-wrenching and just how difficult it is to swallow this loss from the player perspective, especially if you believe like the coaches in a number of different ways mismanaged this game, especially late in the game.
All right, Boomer and Gio just getting started on this Football Monday on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Get Jerry's update just a couple minutes.